outside mess, they're not supposed to run.
Taking photos.
Yes, we're good. Everyone's good. Everybody's good. Good. Haven't been much. We had a great session.
Well, good morning. It's great to be in Green Cove Springs. We have just an unbelievable cadre of people from Clay County here. This is, I think, the Hall of Famers are here. We've got Senator Jen Bradley, Representatives Garrison and Bobby Payne. We have the Sheriff, Michelle Cook, Property Appraiser, Tracy Drake, Diane Hutchings, Tax Collector, Tara Green, Clerk of Court and Comptroller, Chris Chambliss, Supervisor of Elections. I think, do we have the entire Clay County Commission with us here today? Yeah, a lot of them. So, you know, thanks, thank you guys. And I think we have, of course, the mayor of Green Cove Springs is here, the vice mayor. Then we have council members, Royal and Butler and Kelly from the city commission, city council, and then the police chief of Green Cove. Where are you at? Are you here? Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you. So really great. I'll tell you what, we were driving in here. Very beautiful morning, very beautiful part of the state. And I was telling the folks when we were discussing what the announcement was going to be and everything, my 4-year-old daughter and 3-year-old son will ask me, when can we go back to the Clay County Fair? And so I try to explain to them, that it's not something that just goes on continuously. They have at certain times, but they really love doing the different rides, and they love doing the junk food. And so we're looking to figure out, and we've done some other ones around the state, but I think this is the one that they remember the most. So we'll be sure to make it back. They told me about what they do down the street here with the food trucks. So I got to figure out how can I do the schedule to do that. But I tell you, if I unleash my kids with those food trucks, there's going to be a lot going on. They're going to really love that. I also want to thank Dane Eagle, who's our executive director of the Department of Economic Opportunity, and then Jamal Sowell, who's the head of Enterprise Florida. And they're here with me today because our announcement is real exciting. We're going to be able, through the Department of Economic Opportunity, we're going to be able to announce $29 million in grants to 42 small and rural communities throughout the state under the Florida Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program. And that includes $700,000 right here for the city of Green Cove Springs. And so this money will allow the city of Green Cove to do 3 neighborhood revitalization improvement projects. First, be able to use to replace a storm water pipe that is more than 50 years old and install sidewalk, curb, asphalt, and landscape on West Street. Second, the funding will be used to install nearly 1.5 miles of sidewalk on Highland Avenue and Center Street. And then finally, the funding will be used to install picnic tables and benches at Vera Francis Park. So this program, these grants, can only be awarded to cities with a population of less than 50,000 or in a county with an unincorporated population less than 200,000. And so with today's announcement, since I became governor, we've awarded nearly $60 million in block grants to small cities and to rural communities across the state. And since I became governor, through this, we've done $9 million through the Department of Economic Opportunity just to Clay County alone. And I was, joking with some of these guys. Clay County has been able to punch above its weight in many respects. I mean, when I became governor, the appropriations chairman in both the House and the Senate were both from Clay County, and they did very well for this area. And then I know you've got a lot of good folks in the legislature still, some other folks that'll be in leadership in the future. So I think it's been a community that's been able to produce a lot of people that have made a lot of positive impact. a lot on workforce. We've done a lot on apprenticeships. We're doing a lot on that. We've been able to use, I think, strategically federal funds to do that, and we've done that with infrastructure too. But I think we're going to have an opportunity with the Job Growth Grant Fund to work with local communities, both on the municipal and county level, identify some infrastructure needs. Obviously, they have to put up some money too, and then we could do it and hopefully be able to get a lot of projects done in the not too distant future. So you can apply on that. All the local communities can apply for the Job Growth Grant Fund, and we'll look at those applications. And basically, we want to use our resources to be able to make the biggest impacts across Florida. And I know that there'll be opportunities for us to be doing that here in Northeast Florida. So we're excited about what's going on in Clay County. We're excited what's going on in Northeast Florida. I think that there's I was talking with the sheriff beforehand about needs in law enforcement, and it's not as easy to recruit people as it used to be. But I'll tell you, we want to make sure that whatever challenges there are, I can tell you, if you have a chance to do law enforcement in Florida versus some of these other jurisdictions, you're much better off in Florida because we'll actually stand by law enforcement. And as you had a lot of people last year, these municipalities were trying to slash funding. They were attacking law enforcement. We came up and said, you know what, in the next legislative session, we're not defunding police, we're going to fund them with bonuses. And so we ended up getting the $1,000 bonuses for all sworn law enforcement, fire, and first responders and EMT. And part of that was a recognition of all the people hands on deck during COVID. A lot of there were other people working from home. Fire and police, they couldn't work. I mean, they had to do their job and they had to be out there protecting people, but then also just how poorly a lot of the law enforcement had been treated in different parts of the country. We wanted to make sure that we were stepping up and supporting them. And then, of course, we saw with the terrible collapse of the building in Surfside, those search and rescue and those firefighters, they were there immediately on the scene, and it's been basically 24/7. Obviously, when the rest of the building was brought down, they had to stop, and if there was lightning there, so there were some times where they stopped, but unless there was things beyond their control, they did it nonstop, and it was all in an attempt to be able to try to rescue people. So that was something where I don't think we do, but I think some take it for granted. But then when you have those types of situations, those are the folks who are there to be able to handle these situations that happen. And obviously this building is kind of a once in a lifetime type thing. It was really, really tragic, and we'll obviously be able to get all the answers in due time about exactly why it happened. But you have all these things that can happen. Who do you want there doing it? You need the people in uniform to be able to do that. So we're happy to be able to be standing up. And I do think you will see, I think you've already seen, but there are people in these police departments and other parts of the country who, if they can get a job in Florida, they want to come to Florida to be able to do it because the culture is better and they understand that they're going to be supported much more resolutely than what they do. But make no mistake, the reason you have huge spikes in crime in many parts of the country is because of not standing up for law enforcement, having weak policies where you let people out and you're not prosecuting people who are committing habitual offenses. That is clearly causing disastrous consequences. And actually what they will do in some of these jurisdictions, they will say, oh, well, arrests are down for whatever, over a year because they're not arresting anybody. And so it's like they decided not to prosecute, and so they act like that because the arrests are down, that the actual offenses are down, but that's not true. The offenses are up. They're just not being held accountable, so it doesn't show up in the statistics, and that's very irresponsible to be able to do. But that's what you get in some of these jurisdictions where they've gone down that road. So we're happy to be supportive of law enforcement. I do think we should look at what do we need to do. I know we've done some stuff with the corrections to try to make that a little bit more of a valuable enterprise, but it was, the pay is not great. We've done some stuff to increase that, and obviously you have in the municipal and the county level as well. You got a lot of people that are working really hard. We want to make sure that we continue to attract good people. At least you'll know in Florida you're going to have support. And then we're looking forward to seeing what we'll do in the next legislative session. We're working on a bunch of different things, and we'll have some announcements as we get into the fall about how to move the ball forward even more for the state of Florida. But I think we were really productive this year, and I think we'll be able to build on those successes going forward. Part of that, though, is to make sure, and we've got some really big populated areas. They're great, and they do a lot for the state, but we've got to make sure that we're tending to our small municipalities and some of our rural communities, and so that's why we're here today with this great announcement of almost $30 million, and we're going to be here, we're going to be in Taylor County, and then we're going to be in Liberty County providing awards for a lot of these different areas. So I'm excited, and I'd love to have Dane Eagle and Jamal come up and say a few words.
Well, thank you to our governor for his leadership, and thank you all for being here today. The Department of Economic Opportunity, where I get to serve as the head, thanks to the governor, we are three silos. We're workforce development, we're business development, and we're community development. And those are three legs of the stool of economic development. And without one of them, that stool falls. So it's why it's so important that we're here today to announce these community development block grants. Now we're doing $29 million in 42 different communities, as the governor mentioned, but $700,000 is going right here in Green Cove Springs, which is the larger end of those grants that we're doing. And we're going to be in two other stop cities the governor mentioned, but we wanted to make sure we were here this morning in Green Cove and Clay County and show our support. That $700,000 is going to go to replacing, as the governor said, 50-year-old stormwater drain pipe system, new sidewalks, and help rehabilitate the Vera Francis Park. So that's going to be huge in moving forward. Our department is going to be working very closely with the local leaders here. You have a stellar legislative delegation, as the governor mentioned. Look forward to working with them again next session. But we're going to be back. We look forward to helping implement this grant program and doing more for economic development in the area and the state of Florida. But thank you to the governor for his leadership. Thank you to my partner in crime, good crime, that is, Secretary Sowell, and we'll turn it over to him next.
All right. So at Enterprise Florida, we tell the world what the state has to offer. As a state, our governor has showed everybody that we are supportive of law enforcement. We invest in our communities when it comes to workforce and infrastructure. So for anyone here who's listening today, who's in law enforcement and wants to be in a place that's friendly, come to Florida. If you want to have a place that's friendly for business, come to Florida, but also look at Clay County. So everything that we do supports workforce, infrastructure, and helps communities thrive so they can attract jobs. So as we go around the state today with Secretary Eagle and the governor and people who care about our state, I want to tell the world that Florida is open for business. We're supportive of the men and women in uniform, and we want you to come here. Thank you.
All right.
City of Green Cove would like to thank the governor. If there's one thing Green Cove recognizes, it's leadership, and we are fortunate and blessed to have Governor DeSantis as our governor and present here in Green Cove Springs. I've remarked many times that we are the best kept secret of Northeast Florida. We spoke this morning of the park, where 1,000-year-old water bubbles to the surface, moves into the pool, falls into the run, and then into the beautiful St. John's, surrounded by live oaks. So it's my hope that we can extend an invitation to everybody here this morning to share the park. And I always say, once I get you into the park, I can guarantee you one thing, that you're going to come back. Thank you, Governor.
And that, this food truck, I mean, how many people do you get for that on, you get 5,000?
That's our high water mark.
Okay.
We get 18 food trucks surrounding the park, and we have some of the best bands.
Oh, wow.
All right,
Okay.
so yeah, it's quite a time.
And it's the second Friday of every month?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so second Friday of every month, we'll put something out on our social media about it. But You better be careful though, because you may get an influx, and you guys may be wishing. So we'll do that, and we'll try to make it here for that. But I definitely look. The schedule's always in flux, but I don't see how I'm going to get out of not bringing my kids to the Clay County Fair next year. I just think that they won't let me get away with that. So we're happy to be here, and we really thank for having such a great working relationship with both municipal, county level, and then obviously their delegation in the state legislature has been great, and we've worked very closely with them for a number of years. And so we'll keep making progress for Florida. So thanks, everybody. Take a question or two before I leave. Yes, sir.
Mark Plant with WGHC. Regarding Carlene off their invitation for people to invite them to the state of Florida, the mayor in Jacksonville has posted on a couple billboards, Inglewood, California, in Chicago, inviting people to our state. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think what you've seen over the last particularly years, I think you've seen an acceleration of people who've become disenchanted with a lot of bad policies in a lot of these parts of the country. I think a lot of it was COVID lockdowns and the irrationality of that. I think a lot of it has been crime and not having the wherewithal to stand by law enforcement. And then obviously the economic climate. We're a much more free economy. We don't have oppressive taxes. We have the lowest per capita tax burden in the country. We're proud of that. So I think there's a number of factors, but I do think that the last year has caused a lot of folks to say, you know what, we've got to go. I read something, and it rings true to me, but I haven't talked to people directly, but I read an article about how these financial firms, they're inundated with their employees saying, send me to Florida. I don't want to be in some of those cities anymore. So I think the state's got a lot to offer. At the same time, we've got a lot of good folks here. I mean, it's a free country. People can kind of do as they see fit. But I'm satisfied with a lot of the great stuff that's going on with some of our folks who have been here, and many of them who've been here for an awful long time, particularly in this part of the state. So it's a great mix, and we've got a lot of good momentum going forward, and we want to keep it that way. I mean, we've been able to lead on a lot of different things, and I think people have noticed that, and we're proud of that. Well, look, I think when you're talking about doing like infrastructure, obviously someone's going to be contracted to do this, so there is some type of effect on the local economy. But I think the main thing is as you understand the needs of different areas, and even this with the smaller cities, and I'm telling you, people see this. There's going to be people that are going to come. This city will grow. So all this stuff is happening, and so just having that solid foundation of infrastructure, I think, is really, really important. It can help facilitate jobs. I mean, obviously, we do this in a number of different parts of the state. For example, we've done a lot in the Space Coast of Florida, and you've seen with the private investments that go in, that is ready, that the people have wanted to do that, but having some of the things with the airport, with some of those other things, really make it so that people have what they need. So I don't think it's the type of thing where you can say, hey, if you do an infrastructure project here, it's definitely going to guarantee that these jobs come. But I do think that tending to that and understanding that that's an important foundation, does help you be able to have a strong economy going forward. We're also when we looked at, this was a couple months ago, I think we made the decision about not doing the enhanced unemployment because we had 500,000 job openings in Florida almost, and people were desperate. I can tell you, employers have said since we made that change, there's some that said they had more applications in like 3 weeks than they had in the previous 3 months because we're basically saying, okay, the jobs are there, let's get people into those jobs. And so I think that's been good, and I think the states that have done that are going to lead with filling some of our positions, and I think the states that didn't do that are going to continue to have a little bit more of the stagnation. So all in all, when I would go around the state, any corner of the state, people would tell me that about not being able to find enough employees. And so we're addressing that, and I think we're getting in a better spot. But just think, that's a much better problem to have than to have the opposite problem where there's no jobs available for anybody. And that's what, when COVID first hit and everything started to stop, that was really what a lot of people feared, that this would be a really deep, maybe a deep recession or maybe even a depression type thing where we'd have chronically high unemployment for months and months and maybe even years. And I think, at least in Florida, the opposite has happened. We've been below the national average in unemployment since last summer, and we're going to continue, I think, to trend in a good direction for private sector job growth. So fundamentals are good. I do worry about some of the macro trends where we see with inflation. If you look in the economy, and I think that's driven more by federal policies, but that does pinch folks. The gas prices, how much gasoline has gone up, that definitely pinches a lot of folks. So we're concerned about that. We feel like what we're doing in Florida is effective, and we think we've got a good foundation. But some of those trends, I think, are trends that need to be looked at, and hopefully on the federal level there'll be a more appropriate response so that we don't have too much inflation. Okay, thanks everybody. We'll be back soon. We're in ahead. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you. Thank you. Finish? I take it they won't be able to go to the park, huh?
Yeah, it would be so fast.
Yeah.
I've officially met you. I know I've known Rob and I go way back, but yeah.
Tell me your last name again.
Stephen Kelly. Yeah, so we have the coffee shop here on there.
Okay, excellent.
I'm gonna check in.
That's
I
awesome.
just got on. It's too stuff, too much out there. Yeah. Both are equally problematic.